Hey everybody. So the Dallas Stars have made a couple of trades yesterday that are really, their final, probably their final moves before obviously gearing up for a playoff run. They've added some good solid veteran depth players. They added defenseman Ben Lovejoy from the New Jersey Devils and forward Matt Zuccarello from the New York Rangers. So those aren't, big splash players. It's not like they went out and got Wayne Simmons or Artemi Panarin, but those are good, solid, depth veteran guys that you need to win in the playoffs, and that seems to be the way that Dallas wants to do things, as far as making moves going into the playoffs. They're looking to kind of solidify that lineup, not make a huge change to that lineup. So Ben Lovejoy came from New Jersey in exchange for Connor Carrick and a third-round pick. So Carrick he's a borderline NHL guy. He's probably a seventh or eighth defenseman at the NHL level. Ben Lovejoy is an upgrade over Connor Carrick, which is why they also had to give up the third-round pick. But obviously, if you're Dallas, you're trying to make a playoff run this year. That third-round pick doesn't mean a whole lot. You upgraded on defense. You got Ben Lovejoy's been around the league for quite a while now. People don't realize, just how long he's been around, and he's played it for a few different teams. But he's a veteran guy with a lot of experience, some good playoff experience, and certainly a someone who can be a fifth, sixth, or seventh defenseman in your lineup. So Lovejoy gives them definitely added defensive depth and will help them with that in the playoffs. Then Matt Zuccarello coming over from the Rangers. He's the first of what many people think will be a number of Rangers players to get traded. He came from New York for a 2019 second-round pick and a 2020 third-round pick. So the Rangers, obviously a rebuilding team, they're looking to add assets like draft picks and prospects and kind of build for the future. So they're trying to load up on picks, which they get two more here. And Zuccarello, who again, he's been around for a long time. He's in his 30s now, and a veteran guy. He goes to Dallas, where he'll probably play in the bottom six on either the third or fourth line. But he goes to Dallas and can give them a little bit of depth scoring, some secondary offense, while obviously being a great guy in the locker room. He's played a lot of playoff games with the New York Rangers because for most of his time in New York, the Rangers were a team that were in the playoffs year in and year out. So he has got a lot of playoff experience, and he's a really, really good player, and just the kind of guy that you want on your team in the postseason. He can score some really clutch goals. So I think Zuccarello is a great add for the Dallas Stars. So Dallas making, two trades, two depth additions here, shoring up, their lineup, kind of the middle of their lineup. They get a depth defenseman in Ben Lovejoy, and then Matt Zuccarello, who's probably a third liner on that team, maybe on the fourth, but probably a third liner for them. And they don't really give, obviously, they're not going to be giving a lot up off of their roster because that's not the point. The point is to give up assets to be better now. So they give up Connor Carrick, who again, borderline NHL defenseman, and then some draft picks. So Dallas making some moves, and they're not waiting till the deadline to do it. They got their moves done first and doing it ahead of time. So I like both of these moves a lot for Dallas. I don't think that they're gonna drastically change things, but they are good, kind of smaller moves that can make a big difference. It's not, not going to have the same effect as getting a superstar player, but it can kind of just shore up your lineup top to bottom, move everybody around a little bit and get them in roles and positions in the lineup where they're more comfortable, and add some depth to the team, which is extremely important heading into the playoffs, that you have depth, because you never know what's going to happen, how many guys you're going to need, who gets injured. You have to have depth going into the playoffs, and this helps out the Stars with that a lot. So good moves for the Dallas Stars as far as I'm concerned, and they don't give up a first-round pick. That's one thing I'm noticing, with the exception of obviously the Matt Duchene deal. There aren't really any first-round picks being moved yet. So I find that interesting, that we're seeing a lot of second and third round picks being tossed around, but nobody seems to want to move their first. So we'll have to wait and see, but that's something that I've noticed. Obviously, the big names haven't really been moved yet. So like guys like Simmons hasn't been moved yet. Mark Stone hasn't been moved yet. Duchene has been, and he did fetch 2 first-round picks, one guaranteed, one conditional. So maybe that's why the first-round picks haven't been moved yet, is because the big names are still out there. But I just find it interesting that, Brian Boyle was traded, a week and a half ago, and he fetched a second-round pick as a fourth liner. So I thought some of these other guys, like a Zuccarello, who's a little bit higher than a fourth liner, would if Boyle gets you a second, then this guy should get you a first, but we're not seeing the first get moved. Zuccarello, it's a second and a third. So it's interesting. Teams don't seem to really be willing to part with their first-round picks unless they're going to get a really high-end player in return. And I think that's a little bit different than how it's been in years past. I think in years past we've seen the first-round picks kind of get moved a lot more. But again, the big names really haven't moved yet, so I'm sure that there will be first-round picks thrown around when they do. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. Actually don't, because I'm not writing anymore. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.